Richardson Zoo. My name is Katie. I'm one of the Conservation Education Specialists. Today we'll spend some time talking about senses and how important senses are for survival. We all have 5 senses that we can use. Our sense of sight, our sense of hearing, our sense of smell, our sense of taste, and our sense of touch. And touch receptors are all over our skin. The sense of touch can be experienced everywhere on our bodies. Now, these senses are important. We use them every single day, but some senses we use more than others. As humans, we primarily rely on our sense of sight. Our vision is a major clue as to what's going on around you. Is it safe for you to cross the street? Or might there be a car coming down the road and you should wait to cross until that car has passed? The next sense we rely on is our sense of hearing. Our sense of hearing is going to tell us if your family members are calling for you to come inside from playing out in the yard. Senses are vital to us figuring out what's going on around us and what we should do next. Senses are equally important for wildlife surviving out in nature. Their 5 senses are going to help them to figure out where safe shelter is, food to eat, and avoiding predators. Without the 5 senses, sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch, they would have trouble surviving. They would have challenges finding what they need or avoiding things they don't want to meet up with. Today, we're going to explore how 2 special animal guests use their senses to help them survive where they live. Joining us to talk about senses is our first animal guest, the leopard gecko. Now, leopard geckos are a pretty small reptile. Rupert here is a full-grown gecko. She won't ever get bigger than this. And just looking at her, we can see that she does have really well-developed eyes. Her large eyes, very clear. They might seem similar to ours with a few differences in shape and the center pupil of the eye, but that she has a really strong sense of vision. Typically, when animals have large features, like a large nose, large eyes, or large ears, those features tell us that those are primary senses. For the gecko here, her primary sense is her sense of vision, very similar to you and I. Now, for this leopard gecko, she does have better vision than me. She doesn't need glasses to correct her vision. My eyes need a little bit of help, maybe yours do too, but she has exceptional vision to help her explore the world around her. For the leopard gecko, they're nocturnal animals. Do you know what it means to be nocturnal? It means that they're awake at nighttime. Now, we're awake during the day when there's plenty of sunlight for us to see what we're doing. At nighttime, there's not as much light around. The sun has set, and there's limited light available from the moon and stars. Sometimes the moon isn't even out to provide light. So leopard gecko eyes have to be built a little bit differently from our human eyes to allow them to use their sense of sight at nighttime. But they still have excellent vision. As leopard geckos explore around in the tall grass during the night, they're using their sense of sight to look for food to eat. Leopard geckos love to eat bugs. They're what we call an insectivore. They eat insects. And so she uses her vision to search out insects who'd be awake at nighttime like her. Maybe crickets, beetles, bugs that could be found on the ground. That would be a delicious treat for her to chow down on. Her sense of sight can also be used to avoid predators. Now, while she hunts for her food, there are bigger animals who might think a leopard gecko would make a delicious snack. There are some natural predators for the leopard gecko, animals who might try to eat them. Sometimes a snake maybe, sometimes a wild dog in the area that they might be found living, or even cats. Cats are typically our pets. They live with people, but sometimes people choose to let their cats explore outdoors. figuring that their cat has had plenty of food to eat and won't be tempted to nibble on any of the wildlife outside. But cats are natural hunters, and even if they've had a full meal, will take interest in stalking and hunting smaller animals, like a lizard. And that can be a challenge for them. The skink doesn't want to get gobbled up. They want to survive another day to eat more bugs. So they're going to use their vision to avoid cats or other predators who might try to sneak up on them. Their vision is a vital tool for survival where they live, for both finding their food and avoiding predators. We're going to say goodbye to our leopard gecko friend, Rupert, so that we can meet our next animal guest and see an animal who has to use its senses in a different way than us. Now, the leopard gecko used its sense of sight as its primary sense, just like how you or I do. Their sense of sight might be a little bit different. Their eyes work a little bit differently than ours to see better at nighttime, but their primary sense is still the sense of sight or vision. Let's meet an animal whose primary sense is a little bit different. Our next guest is a ball python. Now, not everyone's a big fan of snakes, and that's okay. Not everyone has to love all animals as much as I do, but snakes are still really important to have around. The ball python is a type of snake that would be native to the grasslands of Africa. When we think about the grasslands or savanna of Africa, we usually think of big animals like a rhino, elephant, or lion. But there's plenty of small animals that thrive in that grassland as well, including our new friend, the ball python. The ball python would spend his day hunting for food to eat. For snakes, that's typically small mammals like a rodent, a mouse. And in the grasslands of Africa, there's plenty of field mice for them to gobble up. But they have to find their food. How do you think a snake is going to find their food? Are they going to use vision or sight just like we do? No, we talked about that our next guest is going to use a different sense as his main way to survive. So vision for a snake, not the key sense. For most snakes, their vision is really poor. It's like me without my eyeglasses on. Everything gets really blurry. So their sense of sight isn't so great. Instead, they rely on their sense of smell. I want everyone to take a deep breath through their nose, smelling what's around you. What do you smell? You might smell family members cooking food. You might smell a sibling if they're really stinky. That's not a nice thing to say about your siblings, though. But I always thought my brother, when I was a kid, was sort of stinky. We can use our nose to smell lots of different things. We might even use our nose to smell danger. You might smell fire, warning you that you need to find a new safe spot. But do snakes smell the exact same way as we do? They do have nostrils, but their nostrils are built for just inhaling oxygen, air, for them to breathe. You might have noticed my ball python friend Monty sticking out his tongue as he's hanging out with me. Every time a snake sticks out their tongue, they're actually smelling the room. Can you stick out your tongue like a snake? And wiggle around like a snake? Now, when the snake sticks out their tongue, they're picking up the scent particles, those smells in the air. But their tongue isn't what's smelling. Once they pick up the scent particles, like we breathe in the scent particles, they are placed on the roof of the mouth. There's actually two holes called the Jacobson's organ or pits on the roof of the mouth, and the forked tongue is stuck up into those holes. That's where the scent particles are received, just like they land on the inside of our nose before they're transferred up to our brain. The information reaching the brain is when the snake goes, ah, I smell snack time. I smell a mouse nearby, and I should go check it out. Fun fact about snakes, since they have a forked tongue, and the information is deposited into either the right or left side of the Jacobson's organ, snakes can actually smell in directions too. They can tell the smell is coming from their right side or their left side and what direction they should head to find the food, or maybe avoid a predator if they're smelling a big animal like a lion or a hyena nearby. So they use smell as their main sense, since their eyesight is so poor. But they smell the world in a very different way than you or I do, using their tongue and the Jacobson's organ, the two pits on the roof of their mouth, to transfer the sense up to their brain to pick up on the smell. Now, people will often ask me, aren't I worried that as Monty here is sniffing the room, he'd get confused and try to bite me? When working with animals we know, or encountering animals in nature, wildlife, they know different smells. Monty here knows the smell of human versus food, a mouse. So he recognizes my style, but I still do have to be careful and read his signs, what he's telling me. He can't use his voice to share if he's feeling scared, but he can show me if he's feeling uncomfortable. For ball pythons, they get their name not because of their bald head, but because of the shape they make when they're scared. They curl up into a ball, wrapping their coils on top of each other and hide their head in amongst all those coils, avoiding the scary thing and only biting if they utterly have to. Now, does Monty look scared to you? Is he coiled up into a ball? Is he hiding his face? No, Monty's very comfortable hanging out with us. He is sniffing the room, going, this room smells quite people-y right now. There are no snacks in here that I can smell. No smell of mice. An amazing sense to help him gather information about the world around him. Now I'm going to again put Monty down onto the table in front of me so we can zoom in our camera on him and take a closer look at his face. I want to show you guys a special sense that pythons have. As we look at Monty's face here, it might be hard to see, but along his upper lip, you might notice a pink coloration instead of black scales. These are pit sensors. They're specialized scales that are a different color, in this case pink, instead of the typical black coloration of the scales that he has on his face. And these scales actually allow him to see body heat. Now this is a really important tool. Do snakes want to eat cold food? No, they want a hot meal. They prefer eating animals that are warm-blooded. There are some snakes who will eat cold-blooded animals like reptiles or amphibians, but for the ball python, these guys prefer warm-blooded food like mice. So they can use those pit sensors to pick up body heat. Now, body heat is it's a concept we don't talk about all the time, but we experience it. Do you have a family member who, when you give them a hug, they're really warm? Or have you shaken someone's hand in greeting and their hand was really warm? That warmth is body heat. We can't see it on each other, but we can feel our body heat coming off of someone else. But pythons, like Monty here, can actually see that body heat. And second vision. It improves the limited eyesight that they have. If they see something small and warm, it's probably a delicious snack. It's not bigger than them, they might be able to eat it. If it's a big warm spot, it's probably something that they shouldn't go near, a predator who might cause them harm. And if they see a large shape with their vision, but there's no heat signature to it, nothing of interest, nothing to be scared of, nothing to try to eat. Maybe they're seeing the big shape of a rock or a tree in the savannah. Who knew that some animals have senses that we don't have? The ability to see body heat. Now, again, not all snakes have this ability. Pythons are one of the family groups that do have the ability to see body heat. Alrighty, my friends. Well, we're going to say bye to Monty the python for right now, so we can talk some more about senses and how we use our senses. Now, senses are a very powerful tool. Remember, we have 5 different senses that we get to use every day. Sight, smell, taste, touch, and hearing. All these senses work together to help us find the things we need to survive. We might not think about it that way, but that's what our senses are helping us do. Helping us find the safety of our family or home, or locate the food for snack time. And animals have these senses as well. We share the senses with wildlife. It just depends on what animal we're talking about, which senses are going to be used predominantly, used most often. For humans, our main sense was the sense of sight. For the leopard gecko, what was their main sense? The sense of sight as well. But their sense of sight was built in to help them see at nighttime. Exactly right. The snake, the ball python, relies on what sense? The sense of smell. But what feature of their body do they use to help them smell? Their tongue. Exactly right, you guys. All these senses are built to help animals survive right where they're living. Now, there's lots of different ways we can help out wildlife all over the planet. The leopard gecko and the ball python both are found in different areas other than Kansas where we might be living. But we can help out wildlife all over the globe. We talked about how the leopard gecko might use a sense of sight to avoid predators, like a house cat. If you have pets at home, the best space for them to be is indoors with you, or when they're outside under supervision, so you can make sure they're not bothering wildlife, and that they leave wildlife alone. Our snake friend, as we talked about, not everyone's the biggest fan of snakes, and that's okay. But we got to see today some unique features of snakes, learn a little bit more about them, and find out what makes them special and unique. They might be different from us, but they're still important to have around. Without snakes like the ball python, we'd be overrun with mice. And I don't know about you, but I don't want mice in my cabinets eating my cheese or my crackers. Snakes help us out. So in nature, they're perfectly fine and doing their job, helping control mice populations. Alrighty, my friends, I had a lot of fun spending time with you here today in the Lee Richardson Zoo Distance Learning Studio, finding out about senses and how wildlife uses them. Join us again as we explore other topics about wildlife and features that help them to survive and where they live. Until then, have a great day.